Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to take a look at the 2 days of preliminary hearings in the Barry Morphew case. And we're going to see, was there anything really that we learned that was kind of a aha moment, or evidence that was presented or testimony that was presented that gave away, that we got him, that he's guilty. So thank you for joining me today. So over the 2.5 days, or 2 days of actual testimony, and I'm counting 2.5 days because of the releases that had come about the day prior, and the information that was released online also regarding text messages and video camera footage, still photography of Barry. So I'm counting it all together, and it's about 2.5 days worth of actual information. One of the things that we did learn during the preliminary hearings was that Barry there was some strife, obviously, between Suzanne and Barry leading up to her actual disappearance on Mother's Day of last year. But we all know that Suzanne herself had been carrying on a 2.5-year love affair with a former classmate. Now, I'm not going to use his name in any of my videos because, well, first off, the police have already cleared him. He was back east on the day that Suzanne disappeared. There are credit card charges at a hardware store because he's in the construction business, and they were able to prove by surveillance and by credit card charges that he was there, so he actually had nothing to do with her actual disappearance. And he's already made a mess of his life the way it is. He was married at the time that he was carrying on the affair with Suzanne, and he has children as well. So there's no reason to keep on dragging him up through it because there is nothing that ties him to the actual disappearance of Suzanne. And he didn't want to be known as that man who was having an affair with Suzanne. He's going to be known as that man. Anyways. But we did learn that she was having an extramarital affair. That the spy pen camera that Suzanne had bought and had placed to try to catch Barry in the act of committing adultery, actually ended up backfiring on Suzanne because it actually caught her making phone calls to the lover that she had, and it did not catch any evidence of Barry having an extramarital affair. Even though she did, through text messages and in person and questioning to her friends, she did question if Barry was having an extramarital affair, but there is no evidence that's been presented so far that he was. In this case, it was apparent that Suzanne was having this affair. There was not very much, ha-ha moments in the actual testimony from, that was given, and evidence that was brought forth. There were motions and objections from both sides in the testimony over the 2 days of actual court, case, and both of them, nobody won any major points. They would start questioning a witness or asking questions, and then they would just simply drop it, not wanting to really tip their hand too much to the other side of where they're going, but just simply, they'd ask a question and they go, no further questions, after they get that simple, question, instead of expanding on it where they could have. Now, I know the internet's going to make a lot of a big deal out of the idea that Barry Morphew, while he was in Bloomfield, a suburb of Denver, that he was there dumping trash in 5 different locations. I'm not exactly sure why they wanted to make a big deal out of this, because even the still photography shows the first 2 trash cans that Barry stopped at to try to throw away trash were full. and he had to work to actually get the bag. They weren't talking like large garbage bags, like 55-gallon drum bags. We're talking about bags of trash that you would, like you would get a bag, plastic bag from a grocery store, to carry your groceries in. They were that size of bag. And the first trash can was obviously, filled to the top, and he struggled to get it in. And same as the second bus stop, the bus stop trash can was full as well. So he went to a third, and then to a fourth. And it looked like if you just by looking at the still photography, it looks like somebody who is throwing away trash, cleaning out his vehicle. Why he decided to do it then, I don't know. Why does anybody decide to do stuff like this? So, could he have been throwing away evidence of the case? Sure, we could all speculate on what was in the actual bags, but, he did it anyways. They have no proof of what was in the bag. They can't, it certainly wouldn't have, the bags weren't big enough to hold a body. So that's something we did definitely learn. We definitely learned also that there was a lot of speculation about why he was there to work on Mother's Day when, supposedly there is you can't work any heavy equipment on Sundays in this area, which is technically true and not true at the same time. Looking into the actual county ordinances for Bloomfield, they do not allow construction to be done on Sunday during certain hours because they call it peace hours. Now, they wouldn't have been doing actual construction that day. They would have been repairing a retaining wall, and that people said that he had done sloppily. Well, he didn't actually do the retaining wall originally. He was there to repair and adjudicate the actual issue with the wall. And what happened was, and it probably wasn't even the fault of the original person who put the blocks in, because the ground had shifted after a rainfall and had moved some of the blocks. But a lot of people had speculated that Barry went there with heavy equipment. He went there to do, to bury Suzanne somewhere on that property. Not so. Because of the GPS data that we now know, the Bobcat, which is a small front-loading piece of equipment, he didn't have it. He had taken it to be repaired, and he didn't have it repaired that day on the spur of the moment. He had made arrangements 3 weeks prior to have that piece of equipment, the front-loading skier, the bucket thing, repaired and replaced. Repaired or replaced. So we know that he wasn't going there to, do heavy equipment, stuff like that. He went there to remove these concrete cinder blocks so the wall could be done. Why did he have to do it on Sunday? Because the job that he is doing there has a time schedule. It wasn't done on Thursday or Friday like he had requested. And so now he has to go there and do it himself, remove the blocks, and so the job can continue on time because it has a time frame. And that way on Monday, when he was going to show up with the skid steer, Bobcat thing, a piece of equipment, he could go, and finish up his job that he was there to do. So there was a logical explanation for why he was there. Did he have to go on Sunday? No, he could have went Saturday. He could have, when he found out that the other crew, people didn't finish up the job on Thursday and Friday, he could have went Saturday. He could have went extra early Monday morning. Not really. He shows up at 5 a.m. anyways. So it's already dark, but barely dawn at that hour, at that time of the year. So, he couldn't have shown up much earlier than 5. And you can't run heavy equipment at that hour because, again, it'd be disturbing the peace. So he did the best he could, and then if you put it in that context, it makes a lot more sense. So now we know he didn't go there and bury Suzanne somewhere on that property. We know she's not behind the retaining wall. We know that why he was there to fix the wall. So that kind of throws a lot of the myths and rumors about why he had to do it on Sunday out the window. There really wasn't a lot that had come up in the first 2 days of testimony that you can hang your hat on. You can't say that the prosecution won or the defense won. I mean, they both made some points, some valid points. They got some stuff introduced as evidence that they wanted introduced, and we are not done. Here in a couple of weeks, there will be 2 more days of actual testimony in the preliminary hearing part of it, and then we will go on from there. But at this point, it doesn't look like there is a lot that is the prosecution is hanging their hat on. They didn't introduce anything that was like, we got you here, we have you on surveillance camera, or we have you still photography or GPS. There was a lot of mundane stuff like Barry opened the car door to the door to his truck. It was open for 4 seconds. Okay, and the dome light in his parking sensor went off. Okay, and what's the point? His phone moved around at 33 miles an hour inside his home. No, Barry didn't move around inside of his home at 33 miles an hour. I don't know how you plan on introducing that as evidence that he was chasing Suzanne around. Usain Bolt, the track runner, doesn't even break 33 miles an hour. There's no way this middle-aged fat white man was able to run 33 miles an hour around in his house because the GPS says so. The reason why it pinged here and then pinged there and pinged here was because the cell service in that location and in his home is terrible, and it's completely unreliable information. But that's about it. That's all there was for the first 2 days of the trial for a preliminary trial for Barry Morphew. I wish there was more that I could talk to you about today, but appreciate everyone stopping by. You have a wonderful rest of your week.